Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling a topic that's, super important, but also kind of surprisingly complex:
hmm
shale gas production. And we're going even deeper, looking at this specialized fracturing technique called frac packing.
Okay.
So our guide for this deep dive is a technical chapter from the book Hydraulic Fracturing.
Right?
And I have to admit, I went into this thinking shale gas was, a pretty new thing.
Yeah.
But guess what? I was totally wrong.
It's really fascinating how shale gas has this history going back, decades,
Yeah,
even before it became, the energy powerhouse it is today.
exactly. To kick things off, let's go back in time to the early days of shale.
Okay.
Our source material mentions production from the Antrim Shale in Michigan
Right.
and the Devonian Shale in West Virginia, both starting way back in the 1940s.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's amazing how these early examples show that, shale gas isn't this brand new concept.
Hmm.
But they were very different from what we see today.
Okay.
The Antrim Shale, it was highly naturally fractured,
Oh, wow.
almost like coal, and the gas was like absorbed right in the rock.
Oh,
The Devonian Shale, on the other hand,
yeah.
thicker formation, no water saturation.
Okay.
And the gas, came from organic matter being like cooked under heat and pressure.
Okay, so we've got these early examples, but the real game changer, the one that kicked off the shale boom, was the Barnett Shale in the late 1990s.
Yeah, the Barnett.
Our source material highlights how Mitchell Energy used, a revolutionary approach: water fracs in horizontal wells,
hmm
specifically to dodge those pesky water producing zones.
Mitchell Energy's success in the Barnett Shale is like a pivotal moment in the story of shale gas.
Yeah.
But here's the catch. The Barnett is kind of a unicorn, It's
Oh,
super hard and
yeah.
packed with natural fractures, making it perfect for water fracs. But that's not the case for all shale formations.
So assuming all shale formations are the same is like saying all cookies are chocolate chip.
Right.
Not even close.
Not even close.
It really highlights the importance of understanding, the specific geology of each formation, right?
Right, absolutely. And to understand what makes a shale formation tick, we need to challenge a common misconception.
Okay.
What we call shale isn't always true shale in the, geological sense.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, these formations often have low clay content,
Okay.
and they're actually very fine-grained siltstone or mudstone.
Oh.
The key is their high organic content,
Okay.
which is where those hydrocarbons come from.
Okay, so for you listening,
Yeah.
this means that the basic fracturing principles, they still apply, but those natural fractures play a much bigger role in shale. And this is where things get super interesting.
Because natural fractures can make or break a shale play.
Okay.
Shale has extremely low permeability,
Right.
meaning the rock is super tight.
Right.
So natural fractures, they often act as the main highways for the oil and gas to flow towards the wellbore.
So like trying to get through rush hour traffic, you need those open lanes, those natural fractures to
Yeah.
keep things moving.
Exactly. And to illustrate this point, our source material compares the Barnett Shale, which we know has, a dense network of interconnected natural fractures,
Hmm.
with another oil-producing formation with hardly any natural fractures.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Right.
Some formations, they rely heavily on natural fractures, while others can produce just fine without them.
Exactly.
Huh.
But even when natural fractures are present, there's another layer of complexity we need to consider: effective stress.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Right.
Effective stress sounds intense.
Think of it like this. The rock is constantly being squeezed by the weight of everything above it.
Oh, okay.
That squeezing force can actually close up those natural fractures, making it harder for oil and gas to flow.
Wow, so it's like this constant battle between the pressure we're applying to extract the oil and gas and the forces of nature trying to squeeze those fractures shut.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Now, to really grasp this concept, we need to introduce two key terms.
Okay.
First up is aperture,
All right.
which simply means how wide those fracture openings are.
Okay.
And then we have flow capacity,
Okay.
which tells us how easily oil and gas can flow through those fractures.
Our source material uses a great visual, figure 15.9, to show this relationship between effective stress and natural fracture permeability. It really drives home how that squeezing force can impact production.
What's fascinating is that when we inject fracturing fluids, the effective stress drops And those natural fractures
Mm.
can open up wide, like floodgates.
Yeah.
But this also means we could lose, a lot of those precious fluids into the formation.
Ah, that makes sense, especially when we're using slick water.
Right.
Those low viscosity fluids that are common in shale.
Mhm.
It's like trying to pour water through a sieve.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And all this talk about fluids and fractures leads us to another critical aspect of shale production: horizontal well fracturing.
Horizontal wells. Now we're talking. It's like the bread and butter of
Mm.
shale production.
Mm.
But I'm guessing it's not as simple as just drilling a long well and calling it a day, right?
You're absolutely right. When it comes to horizontal wells, it's all about finding the right balance.
A balancing act? Tell me more.
The challenge lies in spacing the fractures along that horizontal wellbore.
Okay.
We want to get those initial production rates as high as
Of
possible,
course.
but we also need to think long-term, and consider costs.
Right.
If we cram too many fractures too close together, they can actually start interfering with each other.
So it's like having too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah,
They all get in each other's way and nothing gets done efficiently.
that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Our source material, specifically figure 15.16, it shows simulated production results.
Okay.
Even with fractures spaced 100 feet apart, we see a noticeable drop in production after about 14 months.
Wow, that's a lot sooner than I would have expected.
Yeah.
So what's happening? Are the fractures just running out of gas that quickly?
It's not that they're running out of gas, it's that the pressure depletion caused by one fracture starts impacting the production from its neighbors.
Oh.
This is what we call mechanical interference,
Okay.
or sometimes stress shadowing.
Okay, stress shadowing.
Yeah,
That sounds a bit ominous.
it can be.
Can you break it down for us?
Essentially, each fracture creates a zone of altered stress around it, like a little force field.
Okay.
When fractures are spaced too close, these stress shadows overlap.
Oh, I see.
It's like trying to inflate multiple balloons crammed together, The
Mhm.
pressure from one balloon makes it harder to inflate the others.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So is there a way to like get around these stress shadows, or are we always going to be limited by them?
Our source material actually presents a surprising finding.
Okay.
Figures 15.19 and 15.20. They show that under certain conditions, it's actually easier to create multiple fractures than a single one.
Really?
The trick is finding that sweet spot, the optimal spacing, that minimizes stress shadowing while maximizing the area we're tapping into.
That's incredible. So we're not just drilling a well, we're essentially sculpting the reservoir by creating a network of interconnected fractures.
You got it.
Ah.
We call this the stimulated reservoir volume, or SRV.
SRV.
It's a key concept because in those super tight shale formations, we're not just tapping into a pre-existing reservoir. We're essentially building one from scratch.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So the success of horizontal well fracturing, it hinges on understanding these stress interactions.
Absolutely.
But there's another piece of the puzzle we need to consider, right?
You're right. To effectively build that SRV, we need to understand the stresses happening right around the wellbore.
Okay.
We call this near wellbore geomechanics.
All right, I'm ready to dive into the geomechanics of it all. Let's hear it.
The stresses around the wellbore can significantly impact how those fractures, start and grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as simple as just pumping in fluids and hoping for the best.
Right.
We need to understand the geological setting because it dictates how those stresses are distributed.
Our source material gets into like the nitty-gritty details,
Yeah.
differentiating between normal fault and strike slip environments.
Mm-hmm.
Can you walk us through the key differences?
In a normal fault environment,
Yeah.
the vertical stress is greater than the horizontal stresses.
So,
Think of it like a layer cake being pushed down from above.
oh, okay.
In this setup, breakdown pressures are generally lower,
Right.
meaning it's easier to initiate those fractures.
Okay.
They typically start at the top and bottom of the wellbore.
So it's like cracking an egg by pressing down on it from the top.
Exactly.
Okay.
But in a strike slip environment,
Yeah.
it's a different story.
Hi.
The maximum horizontal stress is greater than the vertical stress.
Right.
Like two tectonic plates sliding past each other.
Right.
This makes breakdown pressures extremely high, and fractures tend to initiate on the sides of the wellbore.
So it's like trying to crack that same egg by squeezing it from the sides. Much harder to do.
And figure 15.27 highlights an intriguing consequence of these high breakdown pressures in strike slip environments.
Okay.
pumping proppant larger than 40/70 mesh,
Yeah.
or using high proppant concentrations can be incredibly difficult.
So the geology around the wellbore is crucial for determining the success of horizontal well fracturing.
Absolutely.
It's not just about the fluids and the pumping pressure.
Hmm.
It's about understanding the forces at play deep underground.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this focus on near wellbore geomechanics,
Mm.
it's essential not just for conventional fracturing, but also for the specialized technique we're diving into today,
Okay.
frac packing.
Yes. Frac packing. I've been waiting for this. It sounds like a fascinating blend of sand control and stimulation,
Hmm.
like a superhero hybrid of oil field technologies.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
And to understand why it's so effective, we need to trace its roots back to its humble beginnings.
Our source material takes us on like a historical journey, starting with a technique called sand oil squeeze, developed way back in the day in Venezuela.
Think viscous crude oil mixed with sand to control sand production.
Okay.
It was a precursor to the tip screen out or TSO technique.
TSO.
That's at the heart of modern frac packing.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break down this TSO technique for us.
Right.
What's the secret sauce?
The beauty of TSO lies in its ability to pack those fractures with as much proppant as possible, creating a superhighway for oil and gas to flow. It does this by intentionally creating a screen out at the tip of the fracture.
Wait, a screen out. Isn't that a bad thing?
Not in this case.
Okay.
This controlled screen out allows us to increase the pressure,
Okay.
which widens the fracture
Right.
and creates space for more proppant.
So we're turning a potential problem, a screen out,
Yeah,
into an advantage by using it to like cram in more proppant and create better flow paths. That's ingenious.
exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of ingenuity, our source material delves into an interesting detail about fluid loss control in frac packing,
Okay.
particularly in soft rock formations.
Yeah.
It mentions that fluid loss additives are often avoided.
Now that's surprising.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we want to minimize fluid loss,
Hmm.
especially in those softer, more porous formations?
It's all about understanding how fluids behave differently in soft rock compared to hard rock.
Okay.
In hard rock, we want to minimize fluid loss
Right.
to ensure that fracturing fluid reaches, the intended depth.
Right.
But in soft rock, we leverage a phenomenon called pressure-dependent leak-off.
Okay. Pressure-dependent leak-off.
Yes.
Refresh my memory on how that works again.
The rate of fluid loss into the formation is directly related to the pressure difference between the fracture and the surrounding rock.
Okay.
So in soft rock, as we increase pressure during the TSO process, we actually see an increase in fluid loss.
So it's counterintuitive.
Yeah.
More pressure, more fluid loss.
Right.
How does that help us achieve like a good frac pack?
As the fluid leaks off, it leaves behind a higher concentration of proppant within the fracture.
Mm-hmm.
We're essentially concentrating the proppant as we go.
It's like a natural filtering system.
Yeah.
The fluid escapes, but the proppant stays put.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is why we typically avoid those fluid loss additives in soft rock.
Okay.
They would hinder that pressure-dependent leak-off process.
Right.
We're letting the formation do some of the work for us.
Yeah. It's amazing how we can leverage, the natural properties of the formation to like optimize these techniques.
Absolutely.
But this also highlights the need to understand the nuances of soft rock fracturing mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
It's clearly a different beast compared to hard rock.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And to understand those nuances, we need to delve into the fundamental difference in how those rocks fail under stress.
Okay, let's get technical.
In hard rock, we usually see tensile failure,
Okay.
meaning the rock breaks apart due to the pulling forces from the fracturing fluid.
Mm-hmm.
But in soft rock, it's more about compression shear failure,
All right.
deformation and shearing rather than like clean breaks.
So in hard rock, it's like snapping a twig.
Mm-hmm.
And in soft rock, it's more like bending a piece of clay.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Yeah.
And this difference in failure mechanics has a huge impact on how the fracture propagates and how fluid flows within it.
Our source material mentions something called Reynolds dilatancy.
Yes.
What is that, and why does it matter in soft rock fracturing?
Imagine you have a jar full of sand.
Okay.
When you shake it, the sand settles and takes up less space. But when you squeeze the jar, the sand grains push against each other and take up more space.
Okay.
That's essentially what's happening in soft rock formations. When we compress them, they actually expand slightly.
So squeezing the sand makes it take up more space. That's counterintuitive.
Exactly.
Wow.
And this expansion, or dilatancy, creates voids that can accommodate fluids.
So it's creating space for those fluids to flow and for the proppant to settle in.
Exactly.
Okay.
And in soft rock fracturing, as we inject fluids, they rush towards the tip of the fracture where this dilatancy is most pronounced.
Right.
This helps us achieve that rapid screen out we're aiming for in TSO.
I'm guessing this behavior is quite different from what we see in hard rock.
Absolutely. In hard rock, the fluid leaks off more gradually along the entire fracture face. In soft rock, it's all about that rush to the tip, which creates a very different pressure response.
Our source material uses figure 15.43 to illustrate this, showing a stark contrast between the sharp-pointed fracture tip in hard rock and the blunt, rounded tip characteristic of soft rock.
And that blunt tip is crucial because it allows us to apply higher pressures during frac packing without fracturing out of the target zone.
Okay.
We're basically leveraging the unique properties of soft rock to our advantage.
That's amazing. So we've talked about natural fractures, stress interactions, horizontal wells, and the unique mechanics of soft rock.
Right.
What else is there to consider when it comes to frac packing?
There's one more fascinating phenomenon that we need to explore, something called the halo effect.
Right.
It's one of the most intriguing aspects of frac packing in soft rock.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this this halo effect.
Remember how the injected fluid tends to rush towards the tip of the fracture in soft rock?
Yes, because of that combination of the blunt fracture tip and the dilatancy effect?
Exactly.
Right.
Well, this rapid fluid flow, it doesn't just create a proppant pack within the fracture itself. It also creates an expanded zone of proppant packing around the wellbore.
Okay.
Even in areas where the fracture hasn't actually propagated.
So it's like we're creating like a proppant cloud that extends beyond the confines of the fracture itself.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Okay.
And this halo effect can significantly boost production.
Right.
Especially in high permeability environments where we need all the flow capacity we can get.
Our source material actually gives a percentage.
Oh, wow.
In some cases, this halo effect can contribute a whopping 60 to 75% of the total production.
Wow. That's a lot.
That's huge bonus.
Yeah, that's huge. It's a remarkable phenomenon.
Yeah.
And it's one of the key reasons why frac packing has become such a popular completion technique.
So it's not just about the fracture itself. It's also about that bonus production we get from the halo effect.
Precisely.
Right.
And our source material includes some great visuals to help us understand this concept.
Okay.
Figure 15.44, for example, shows evidence of the halo effect captured using specialized logging tools.
So we can actually see this halo effect in the data we collect from the well.
Exactly.
Yeah, skill.
And figure 15.45 provides a schematic illustration of the halo effect showing the expansion of the wellbore and the surrounding proppant pack zone.
It's like we're creating a superhighway for production around the wellbore.
And that superhighway is what drives those impressive production results we see from frac-packed wells.
It's incredible how injecting fluids and proppant into a formation can lead to such complex and beneficial outcomes.
It really is. And this understanding of the halo effect has led to further refinements in frac pack design and execution, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in oil and gas production.
This drive for optimization, it goes beyond just the, physical aspects of frac packing.
Okay.
It also involves the modeling and simulation tools we use to design and analyze these treatments, right?
Absolutely. Our source material stresses the importance of accurately modeling those key factors that influence frac pack behavior.
So we're talking about things like the stresses in the rock, the properties of the rock itself, and how the fluids will behave.
Exactly.
Right.
And we need to understand the level of uncertainty associated with each of those parameters. We can't just blindly plug numbers into a model and expect, accurate results.
So it's like baking a cake.
Yeah.
We need to like measure our ingredients carefully
Mm-hmm.
and follow the recipe closely if we want a delicious outcome.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And as our modeling capabilities continue to evolve, we're gaining an even deeper understanding of the complex interplay between the frac pack and the formation.
Our source material mentions the need for models that incorporate poroplastic and elastic behaviors. Can you break down those terms for us?
Those are some fancy terms,
Yeah.
but they're essential for accurately modeling soft rock behavior.
Okay.
These advanced models, they take into account the fact that soft rock doesn't always behave in the simple, predictable way.
Right.
It can deform and fail in complex ways.
So we're moving beyond those simplified models that assume the rock behaves like a perfect spring
Right.
or a brittle piece of glass. We're getting more realistic.
Exactly. And these poroplastic and elastoplastic models allow us to better predict phenomena like the halo effect, which have traditionally been difficult to capture in those simpler models.
It's like we're upgrading our simulation software to account for the messy reality of the subsurface.
And that's what makes this feel so exciting. We're constantly pushing the boundaries of our understanding, developing new tools and techniques to unlock the full potential of those unconventional reservoirs.
This deep dive into frac packing has been an incredible journey.
It has.
I'm amazed at how much science and engineering goes into this seemingly simple technique.
Yeah.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, revealing more and more complexity as we go.
And it's a testament to the collaborative spirit of the oil and gas industry.
Yeah.
We're bringing together experts from various disciplines, from geomechanics to fluid dynamics to reservoir engineering to optimize these complex operations.
This collaboration is driving innovation and pushing the boundaries of what's possible in oil and gas production. And it's clear that this collaboration will be even more important as we face the challenges of a changing energy landscape. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored the history of shale gas production, delved into the intricacies of frac packing, and even ventured into the world of waste disposal using hydraulic fracturing.
That's right.
It's been quite a journey.
It has indeed.
And listeners, we hope you've gained a new appreciation for the complexity, the innovation, and the vast potential of hydraulic fracturing.
It's clear that this technology is playing a crucial role in shaping the future of energy production.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to see how it will continue to evolve and adapt to meet the challenges of a changing world.
And remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole universe of knowledge out there waiting to be explored.
That's right.
So keep that curiosity burning, keep those questions coming, and join us next time for another deep dive into the fascinating world of energy and technology.
Until then, keep exploring.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of shale and frac packing.
We're picking up right where we left off, exploring the ins and outs of designing and executing a successful frac pack treatment.
In part one, we established that the goal of frac packing is to create that highly conductive proppant pack by achieving a tip screen out, or TSO. Now, let's unpack the key design considerations that go into making that TSO a success.
And listeners, remember, we're still working with those excerpts from the hydraulic fracturing book.
Right.
We're going to connect the dots and translate those technical details into practical insights.
Okay, so where do we even begin when designing a frac pack treatment? It seems like there are so many factors to consider.
You're right. There are a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
But one of the first things we need to figure out is the role those natural fractures will play.
Ah, natural fractures. They keep popping up as a crucial factor. It's like they have a mind of their own down there.
They do indeed. And their personality can vary dramatically from one formation to the next.
Yep.
Our source material highlights some critical questions we need to ask.
Okay.
Do we have an interconnected network of natural fractures with a decent density?
Okay.
And will those fractures actually contribute to flow under production conditions?
So it's like we're scouting out the playing field, trying to figure out if those natural fractures will be team players or just sit on the sidelines during the game.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
If the answer to both of those questions is yes,
okay,
then we want to design our frac pack to enhance those natural fractures.
Okay.
We'd use clean fluids and very small proppant, like 100 mesh,
Right.
to maximize their conductivity.
And if the answer is no, meaning the natural fractures aren't going to be major contributors,
Yeah.
what then?
Then we can shift our focus to creating a highly conductive fracture that bypasses any damage near the wellbore.
Okay.
We're essentially building a new pathway for those hydrocarbons to flow.
But wouldn't we still use those low viscosity fluids even if the natural fractures aren't a big factor?
You're right to point that out.
Okay.
Low viscosity fluids have advantages beyond just minimizing damage to natural fractures.
Right.
They can also help us control the height of the fracture
Okay.
and promote a longer, more contained fracture geometry.
Okay, so it's all about finding that sweet spot between fracture geometry and fluid properties.
Exactly.
Like a tailor crafting a custom suit for the formation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another crucial design consideration is understanding how much those natural fractures will contribute to fluid loss during pumping.
Mm-hmm.
This is where those numerical simulations come in handy.
So we're essentially running virtual frac pack jobs on the computer to see how those fluids will behave in the subsurface.
That's right. We're using those simulations to predict how much fluid will leak off into the formation, especially through those natural fractures.
Right.
This helps us optimize our fluid design and pumping schedule.
It's like having like a crystal ball that shows us what's happening thousands of feet underground.
That's right.
Yeah.
And once we have a good handle on fluid loss, we can move on to another critical design element, fracture spacing.
Spacing, we talked about this in part 1 in the context of horizontal wells in general.
Right.
But I'm guessing there are some unique considerations when it comes to frac packing.
You're absolutely right. We need to think about two types of spacing.
Okay.
Reservoir spacing and mechanical spacing.
Okay.
Reservoir spacing is all about optimizing long-term production and economic returns.
So it's about finding that balance between, squeezing out as much production as possible early on and ensuring the well has, a long and productive life.
Exactly.
Right.
Closer spacing might give us a quick burst of production.
Right.
But it could lead to faster decline rates and higher costs down the road. Wider spacing might mean slower initial rates, but it could ultimately lead to a more stable and profitable well.
It's like choosing between sprinting and running a marathon. We need to pace ourselves to go the distance.
And then there's mechanical spacing, which, if you recall, has to do with those stress shadows we talked about earlier.
Stress shadows, those zones of altered stress around each fracture that can interfere with each other if they get too close.
Right.
I remember those.
Mechanical spacing is all about preventing those stress shadows from hindering fracture propagation.
Okay.
As a rule of thumb, we start to see interference when the spacing between fractures is less than the height of the fractures.
So if we want to pack those fractures in tightly, we need to be extra careful about managing those stress shadows.
Absolutely.
Right.
And in some cases, it might even mean limiting ourselves to only 1 or 2 fractures at a time to avoid those negative interactions.
Okay, so we've got our natural fractures figured out. We've modeled our fluid loss.
Right.
And we've optimized our spacing. What's next on the frac pack design checklist?
Now we need to move beyond the planning phase and think about execution.
Okay.
There are certain aspects of installing a frac pack that require special attention.
Okay, I'm ready to get down to the nitty-gritty details of actually putting this frac pack in place.
All right.
What are the key things to watch out for?
Well, first and foremost, we need a solid plan for managing wellbore debris.
Okay.
Any junk left in the wellbore can sabotage the entire operation.
It's like cleaning your house before having guests over.
Exactly.
We need a pristine environment for this frac pack to thrive.
And just like a painter carefully selects their brushes,
Yeah.
we need to choose the right fluid loss strategy for the specific formation we're working with.
Our source material talks about using a fluid loss pill hierarchy to minimize damage to the formation.
That's right. We want to protect the formation while ensuring that our frac pack fluid reaches the desired depth and creates the optimal fracture geometry.
So it's about finding that delicate balance between protecting the formation and creating those flow paths.
Precisely. And speaking of flow paths, proper perforating is essential for maximizing the area open to flow.
Perforations, those tiny holes that act as gateways for the frac pack fluid to enter the formation.
And remember that halo effect we discussed earlier?
Yes.
Well, clean, well-placed perforations can actually enhance that halo effect, allowing us to draw production from a wider area around the wellbore.
So those perforations are doing double duty.
That's right.
They're not just entry points for the frac pack fluid,
Mm-hmm.
but also conduits for production from that prop and tack halo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to maximizing the efficiency and effectiveness of the frac pack treatment.
Right.
Every detail matters.
Yes. It's amazing how everything from debris management to perforation placement, it all plays a role in the success of the frac pack.
Hmm?
It's like a finely tuned machine.
Precisely. And to ensure that machine runs smoothly, we need to pay close attention to quality assurance and quality control, or QA/QC, for all our equipment and materials.
QA/QC, that's like the pre-flight checklist for an airplane. We need
Yeah.
to make sure everything is in tip-top shape before we launch this frac pack mission.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And just a pilot follows, a strict set of procedures.
Mm-hmm.
We need well-defined processes for every step of the frac pack installation.
Our source material emphasizes reviewing those processes and procedures to ensure they align with industry best practices.
Yes, and that includes everything from fluid handling to pressure monitoring to prop end placement.
Right.
And speaking of prop end placement, we need to calibrate our fracture model
Okay.
to make sure our TSO design actually results in a screen out at the desired point.
Mm-hmm. Calibration. So we're essentially fine-tuning our models based on real-time data
Mm-hmm.
to make sure our frac pack hits its target.
We want to achieve a controlled screen out that maximizes fracture width and proppant packing.
Right.
And to do that, we need to use techniques that ensure the complete packing of the screen annulus.
So it's not just about achieving any screen out.
Right.
It's about achieving the perfect screen out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to achieve that perfect screen out, our downhole hardware needs to include mechanical fluid loss control devices.
Okay.
These devices help us manage fluid loss and maintain the desired pressure within the fracture.
It's all about controlling the flow of fluid and proppant to sculpt that ideal frac pack geometry.
And to validate our work, we need measurement devices to collect real-time data downhole,
Right.
like pressure and temperature readings.
Okay.
This data gives us insights into fracture behavior
Mm-hmm.
and helps us fine-tune our execution strategy as we go.
It's like having a live feed from the frac pack,
Yeah,
giving us a play-by-play of what's happening down there.
exactly. And if we want even more detailed information,
Yeah.
we can deploy wash pipe logging tools.
Okay.
These tools give us a close-up view of the proppant pack, helping us ensure we've achieved a high-quality completion.
Wash pipe logging tools. It's like sending a microscopic camera downhole to inspect our handiwork.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
And finally, once we've successfully installed the frac pack,
Yeah.
we need a clear protocol for initiating production from the well.
So we're not just flipping a switch and hoping for the best.
Definitely not.
Accurate.
We need a carefully crafted plan to bring the well online safely and efficiently.
Right.
And that plan should be tailored to the specific characteristics of the frac pack and the well.
It's like launching a rocket.
Yeah.
We need a meticulous countdown and a well-coordinated team to make sure everything goes smoothly.
This whole discussion has highlighted the intricate steps involved in executing a successful frac pack treatment.
Mm-hmm.
It's come a long way from those early days of sand oil squeeze techniques.
It's amazing to see how much this technology has evolved.
Mm-hmm.
And it's clear that those early innovations paved the way for the sophisticated techniques we use today.
And this evolution speaks to the continuous innovation and refinement happening in the oil and gas industry.
Right.
We're constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
But even with all these advancements, it's important to remember that frac packing is essentially a combination of two fundamental technologies.
Right.
Sand control and, stimulation.
So it's like we're blending the best of both worlds to create this hybrid completion technique.
Exactly.
And our source material takes us on a historical journey,
Yeah.
tracing frac packing back to those early sand oil squeeze treatment developed in Venezuela over 40 years ago.
Back then, the idea of fracturing high permeability formations
hmm
was seen as unconventional, even unnecessary.
People thought fracturing was only effective in low permeability formations,
Right.
where it could create new flow paths.
Right.
But as we learned more about fracture mechanics,
Yeah.
we realized that even in high permeability formations,
hmm
fracturing could play a crucial role in boosting production,
Okay.
especially when combined with sand control techniques.
So we're not just creating new flow paths, we're also improving the flow capacity of existing paths,
Right.
like widening a highway to increase traffic flow.
That's right. And the development of tip screen out, or TSO designs,
Right.
really revolutionized how we approach frac packing.
TSO, that intentional screen out,
Yeah.
that allows us to pack those fractures with more proppant.
hmm
It's like the heart and soul of modern frac packing.
Absolutely. And the key insight behind TSO is that by intentionally creating a screen out at the tip of the fracture,
Right.
we can increase the pressure
Mm-hmm.
and pack the fracture with much higher concentrations of proppant,
Right.
leading to significantly improved conductivity.
So we're turning a potential problem, a screen out, into an opportunity to enhance production.
Exactly. And our source material uses some great visuals to illustrate this concept.
Yeah.
Figure 15.4, for example, shows how the conductivity of the fracture increases dramatically with higher proppant coverage.
So the more proppant we can pack into the fracture,
hmm
the better it conducts fluids, and the more
Okay.
oil and gas we can
Yes.
produce. It's like building a wider, smoother pipeline.
And figure 15.41 highlights the difference between hydraulic width,
Okay.
the width of the fracture during pumping,
Mm-hmm.
and close width,
Right.
the width after the pumping pressure is released. Even with high proppant concentrations, the final closed width will be less than the hydraulic width.
So we need to make sure we're packing in enough proppant to achieve the desired conductivity, even after that fracture closes up.
Exactly. And figure 15.42 shows how fracture width, reservoir permeability, and desired fracture conductivity are all related.
Right.
The key takeaway is that achieving a highly conductive fracture often requires packing in a significant amount of proppant.
It's like filling a pothole.
Yeah.
The bigger the pothole, the more material we need to fill it in properly.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
And with these advancements in TSO design,
Yeah.
frac packing has become the go-to completion method for cased hole sand control.
And it's not just limited to onshore applications, right? I
Yeah.
remember reading that it's used in offshore and deep water environments as well.
You're right. Frac packing has proven to be a robust and effective technique in some of the most challenging oil and gas production environments,
Yeah.
where the costs are high and the stakes are even higher.
It's amazing how a technique developed in Venezuela has become like a global solution for sand control and production enhancement.
It's a testament to the ingenuity and adaptability of engineers in the oil and gas industry.
Mm-hmm.
But this success wouldn't be possible without a deep understanding of the unique characteristics of soft rock formations, which make frac packing so effective.
We've touched on this before, but I'm ready for a deeper dive into the nitty-gritty details of soft rock behavior.
All right, let's get technical.
Yeah.
So remember how we talked about the difference between tensile failure in hard rock
Mm-hmm.
and compression shear failure in soft rock?
Yes, I'm picturing those sharp fracture tips in hard rock
Mm-hmm.
versus those blunt tips in soft rock.
Right.
It's like the difference between a knife cut and a crushing blow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this difference in how those rocks fail under stress has a huge impact on how the frac pack behaves.
Our source material mentions that phenomenon called Reynolds dilatancy.
Yeah.
Can you refresh our memory on what that is and why it matters in frac packing?
Remember that jar of sand we talked about earlier?
Yes.
When you squeeze it, the sand grains rearrange themselves and take up more space.
Right.
That's Reynolds dilatancy in action.
So squeezing the sand makes it expand.
Mm-hmm.
It still seems counterintuitive.
It is counterintuitive, but that's how granular materials behave.
Wow.
And this expansion, or dilatancy,
Mm-hmm.
creates voids that can accommodate fluids,
Right.
which is crucial for frac packing.
It's creating space for those fluids to flow
Hmm.
and for the proppant to settle in, right?
Exactly. And because the dilatancy is most pronounced at the tip of the fracture, the injected fluid rushes towards the tip
Right.
promoting a rapid and effective screen out.
So Reynolds dilatancy is helping us achieve that highly conductive proppant pack by driving those fluids and proppant to the right spot.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's one of the key reasons why frac packing is so effective in soft rock formations.
It's also why we can achieve those high net pressures during treatment.
That's right.
Oh.
The blunt fracture tip, combined with the dilatancy effect, allows us to push those pressures higher without fracturing out of the target zone.
So we're taking advantage of the unique properties of soft rock to make the frac pack even more effective.
Precisely. And this brings us to another fascinating aspect of frac packing in soft rock.
Okay.
Fluid loss control.
Right.
Remember how we talked about how fluid loss additives are often avoided in these formations?
Yes, that still puzzles me a bit. Why wouldn't we want to minimize fluid loss, especially in softer formations?
Well, in soft rock, we're not trying to prevent fluid loss altogether.
Okay.
In fact, we rely on it to some extent.
Okay.
We call this a pressure-dependent leak-off.
Okay, I remember that term, but remind us how it works again.
As the pressure differential between the fracture and the surrounding rock increases, so does the rate of fluid loss into the formation.
Okay.
So as we ramp up the pressure during the TSO process,
Right.
we're actually encouraging more fluid loss.
So more pressure, more fluid loss. But wouldn't that make it harder to achieve like a good proppant pack?
Not necessarily. The trick is to manage the fluid loss in a way that promotes proppant dehydration and packing.
Okay.
As the fluid leaks off into the formation, it leaves behind a higher concentration of proppant within the fracture.
So we're essentially concentrating the proppant as we go.
Yeah.
It's like brewing coffee.
Yeah.
As water filters through, leaving the coffee grounds behind.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And this is why we avoid those fluid loss additives in soft rock.
Okay.
Those additives would create a thicker cake that would hinder this natural process.
So we're letting the formation do some of the work for us, using its natural properties to enhance the frac pack.
Exactly. And this approach has proven to be incredibly effective in soft rock environments. It's all about working with nature, not against it.
It's amazing how much we can learn by simply observing and understanding the natural processes at play.
That's the essence of good engineering.
Yeah.
And this understanding of soft rock behavior has led to the development of specialized frac pack designs that take advantage of these unique characteristics.
Our source material talks about achieving a hard screen out at the end of the job.
Yes.
What does that mean, and why is it important?
That hard screen out is a key indicator of a successful frac pack.
Okay.
It tells us we've achieved the desired level of proppant packing and fracture width. We've created that solid conductive barrier.
So we're aiming for that sweet spot where we've created a highly conductive proppant pack without fracturing out of the target zone. It's like a delicate balancing act.
Exactly. And to achieve this, we need to consider all those factors we discussed earlier: debris management, fluid loss control, perforating strategy, and so on.
It's like conducting an orchestra. We need all the instruments playing in harmony to create a beautiful symphony of a frac pack.
And that symphony is what ultimately leads to enhanced production and a more profitable well.
Speaking of enhanced production, let's revisit that intriguing phenomenon associated with frac packing, the halo effect.
The halo effect. One of the most fascinating aspects of frac packing in soft rock.
We touched on it in part one, but I'm ready for a deeper exploration.
Okay, let's dive back into the mysteries of the halo effect. Yep. Remember how those injected fluids tend to rush towards the tip of the fracture in soft rock?
Yes, because of that combination of the blunt fracture tip and the dilatancy effect.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, this rapid flow, it doesn't just create a proppant pack within the fracture itself. It also creates an expanded zone of proppant packing around the wellbore.
Okay.
Even in areas where the fracture hasn't actually propagated.
So it's like we're creating like a proppant cloud that extends beyond the boundaries of the fracture itself.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Okay.
And this halo effect can significantly contribute to production.
Right.
Especially in high permeability environments where we need all the flow capacity we can get.
Our source material said this halo effect can contribute 60 to 75% of the total production in some cases.
It's a remarkable phenomenon.
That's a huge bonus.
Yeah, it's one of the key reasons why frac packing has become such a popular completion technique.
So it's not just about the fracture itself.
It's also about that bonus production we get from the halo effect.
Precisely.
Oh, okay.
And our source material includes some great visuals to help us understand this concept.
Okay.
Figure 15.44 shows evidence of the halo effect captured using specialized logging tools.
So we can actually see this halo effect in the data we collect in the well.
Exactly.
That's cool.
And figure 15.45 provides a schematic illustration of the halo effect, showing the expansion of the wellbore and the surrounding proppant-packed zone.
It's like we're creating a superhighway for production around the wellbore.
And that superhighway is what drives those impressive production results we see from frac-packed wells.
It's incredible how injecting fluids and proppant into a formation can lead to such complex and beneficial outcomes.
It really is. And this understanding of the halo effect has led to further refinements in frac pack design and execution, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in oil and gas production. This drive for optimization, it goes beyond just the physical aspects of frac packing.
Right.
It also involves the modeling and simulation tools we use to design and analyze these treatments, right?
Absolutely. Our source material stresses the importance of accurately modeling those key factors that influence frac pack behavior.
So we're talking about things like the stresses in the rock,
Yeah.
the properties of the rock itself, and how the fluids will behave.
Exactly.
Right.
And we need to understand the level of uncertainty associated with each of those parameters.
Yeah.
We can't just blindly plug numbers into a model and expect, accurate results.
So it's like baking a cake.
Yeah.
You need to measure our ingredients carefully and follow the recipe closely if we want a delicious outcome.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And as our modeling capabilities continue to evolve, we're getting an even deeper understanding of the complex interplay between the frac back and the formation.
Our source material mentions the need for models that incorporate poroplastic and elastoplastic behaviors. Can you break down those terms for us?
Those are some fancy terms,
Yeah.
but they're essential for accurately modeling soft rock behavior.
Okay.
These advanced models, they take into account the fact that soft rock doesn't always behave in a simple, predictable way.
Right.
You can deform and fail in complex ways.
So we're moving beyond those simplified models that assume the rock behaves like a perfect spring
Right.
or a brittle piece of glass. We're getting more realistic.
Exactly. And these poroplastic and elastoplastic models allow us to better predict phenomena like the halo effect, which have traditionally been difficult to capture in those simpler models.
It's like we're upgrading our simulation software to account for the messy reality of the subsurface.
And that's what makes this field so exciting. We're constantly pushing the boundaries of our understanding, developing new tools and techniques to unlock the full potential of those unconventional reservoirs.
This deep dive into frac packing has been an incredible journey.
It has.
I'm amazed at how much science and engineering goes into this seemingly simple technique.
Yeah.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, revealing more and more complexity as we go.
And it's a testament to the collaborative spirit of the oil and gas industry.
Yeah.
We're bringing together experts from, various disciplines, from geomechanics to fluid dynamics to reservoir engineering,
Right.
optimize these complex operations.
This collaboration is driving innovation and pushing the boundaries of what's possible in oil and gas production. And it's clear that this collaboration will be even more important as we face the challenges of a changing energy landscape.
Absolutely. And listeners, we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
But there's still more to explore.
That's right. Join us for the final part. Welcome back to the deep dive.
We're wrapping up our exploration of shale and frac packing in this final part.
And before we jump into this fascinating world of waste disposal using hydraulic fracturing, I wanted to touch on something our source material brought up.
Okay.
It's a common misconception about frac packing that can, trip people up.
It's easy to get, so focused on the fracture itself
Right.
that we overlook some of those fundamental sand control principles
Yeah.
that are still crucial for success.
Exactly. The source material cautions against getting, tunnel vision on fracture placement and neglecting those tried and true sand control fundamentals.
Things like ensuring we have large, clean perforations,
Right.
using clean fluids,
Yeah.
managing those fluid loss pills effectively, and optimizing flow area.
It's a great reminder that frac packing, while, a specialized technique, is still built on a solid foundation of good sand control practices.
Yes.
We can't forget the basics.
And when those fundamentals are overlooked,
Yeah.
we risk putting too much emphasis on achieving that perfect TSO, that perfect fracture,
Right.
and that can backfire.
It's like building a house on a shaky foundation.
Yeah.
No matter how, beautiful the structure is,
Mhm.
it's ultimately going to be compromised.
Precisely. And the consequences of neglecting those fundamentals can be significant.
Right.
The source material even uses the term poor frac pack to describe situations where those sand control principles haven't been adequately addressed.
So what happens when we have a poor frac pack?
Yeah.
Does it just mean lower production, or are there other consequences?
A poor frac pack,
Mm-hmm.
it might not perform as well as a traditional gravel pack,
Right.
especially if the fracture doesn't effectively bypass near wellbore damage
Mm-hmm.
or achieve the required conductivity.
So it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
We're harnessing the power of fracturing to enhance sand control,
Mm.
but we can't forget those foundational principles that make it all work.
Exactly. And this brings us to another crucial point highlighted in our source material,
Okay.
the importance of clear communication and shared understanding among everyone involved in a frac pack job.
Ah, yes, the language of oil and gas.
It can be a bit of a minefield sometimes.
It can be a bit of a minefield sometimes.
I could say that.
Yeah.
Terms that have one meaning in the sand control world might have a completely different meaning in the fracturing world.
And when those different interpretations, collide,
Yeah.
it can lead to confusion,
You're right.
miscommunication,
Hmm.
and ultimately a less than ideal outcome.
Our source material gives us a great example of this
Okay.
with the term screen out.
Ah, yes, the dreaded screen out.
Oh.
Or is it desired? It seems like it all depends on who you ask.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the sand control world, a screen out is generally a good thing. It means we've successfully packed the annulus around the screen.
Mm-hmm.
But in the fracturing world, a screen out is typically something we try to avoid.
Right.
It means we've lost control of the fracture.
And yet, in the frac packing world,
Yeah.
a controlled screen out, specifically a PSO,
Mhm.
is exactly what we're aiming for.
Exactly.
It's like the screen out has a split personality.
It really does.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to take the time to clearly define and explain these terms,
Yeah.
making sure everyone is on the same page.
So we're all speaking the same language and working towards the same goal, a successful and efficient frac pack.
Precisely. That shared understanding is essential for effective collaboration and optimal results.
Right.
Now that we've cleared the air on those communication hurdles,
Yeah.
let's shift gears and explore a fascinating application of hydraulic fracturing
Right.
that goes beyond oil and gas production,
Right.
waste disposal.
Waste disposal using hydraulic fracturing. That's a new one for me. I never would thought of that.
It might seem like a leap,
Yeah.
but the principles of hydraulic fracturing can be applied to solve a variety of challenges,
Right.
including the safe and effective disposal of waste materials.
Our source material doesn't go into like extensive detail on this topic,
Right.
but it does offer some intriguing insights.
Mhm.
It's definitely an area that's gaining attention as we grapple with the the growing issue of waste management.
Especially with the increasing volume of industrial and hazardous waste
Right.
being generated worldwide.
Yeah.
We need innovative solutions,
Mm-hmm.
and hydraulic fracturing might be one of them.
So how does it work? Are we essentially pumping the waste into like deep underground formations?
That's the basic idea.
Okay.
We're utilizing the same principles of hydraulic fracturing to create fractures in deep impermeable rock formations.
Mm-hmm. And those fractures act as storage chambers for the waste materials.
Exactly. And because those formations are impermeable,
Yeah.
the waste is effectively isolated from groundwater
Right.
and other sensitive environmental receptors.
It's like we're creating like a secure underground vault.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And this technique is proven to be particularly effective for disposing of hazardous waste materials,
Right.
which pose a significant risk if not managed properly.
Yeah, we're talking about things that can't just be, thrown in a landfill.
Exactly.
Right.
So we're taking those hazardous materials and locking them away deep underground where they can't harm human health
Yeah.
or the environment.
It's a win-win. We're safely disposing of those waste materials while minimizing the impact on the environment.
And as regulations around waste disposal become increasingly stringent, this technique is likely to gain even more traction.
Yeah.
It's a solution that addresses both environmental and regulatory concerns.
It's truly fascinating how the principles of hydraulic fracturing can be adapted and applied to address, a wide range of challenges. It goes to show that innovation often comes from, thinking outside the box and finding new ways to use existing technologies.
It's a testament to the creativity and ingenuity of engineers and scientists who
Yeah.
are constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've explored the history of shale gas production, delved into the intricacies of frac packing,
Yeah.
and even ventured into the world of waste disposal using hydraulic fracturing.
That's right.
It's been quite a journey.
It has indeed.
And listeners, we hope you've gained a new appreciation for the complexity, the innovation, and the vast potential of hydraulic fracturing.
It's clear that this technology is playing a crucial role in shaping the future of energy production.
Right.
And it's exciting to see how it will continue to evolve and adapt to meet the challenges of a changing world.
So keep that curiosity burning, keep those questions coming, and join us next time for another deep dive into the fascinating world of energy and technology.
Until then, keep exploring.